I don't have a microphone, so I'll try to talk loud enough for you to hear. Can anybody not hear me? Well, folks, God bless you for coming. This is a tremendous occasion, and thanks are due chiefly, of course, to my two nieces, Ellen Frances and Ines, who conceived this grand idea of having a little birthday party for my sister Blanche, a little 80th year birthday party. Now, the program is going to be very loose. There'll be no set speeches. I'm only going to say a few words because I happen to be the oldest living male Rogers present, and I guess it's my privilege, but all I want to do is say a few words about my little sister Blanche. I think that the first person that I ever knew in my life, of course, was my mother, but the next person that I remember was my sister Blanche, because when I was 2 or 3 years old, I was a little rover. I used to run away all the time, like so many of you boys and girls do too, I guess, but anyhow, they never could find me, and my mother told my sister Blanche to tie me to the kitchen table leg so that whenever they wanted Bert, they could find him. So that's why I remember my sister Blanche. Now, Mother and Dad, of course, were born in I think Dad was born in 1861 and Mother in 1864. Blanche will help me, I'm sure. And when they were married, it was married in about 1885. At that time, I think Dad was 23 and Mother was 20, as I remember. Well, when they were married, there was no idea of the population explosion that we have these days, and there wasn't any such thing as family planning, so Mother and Dad just decided to get married and let the good Lord let things happen as He wished. And something did happen. In 2 or 3 years, Mother had her first child, Uncle Ray, and then she had a child every 2 years, till we had 9. Ray was the oldest, I was in the middle, and there were 6 boys and 3 girls. Blanche was the second. Well, the birth dates of all of us are so closely to the same time. In March, for instance, Blanche is the 29th and I'm the 18th, and Lynn is February the 10th, and Ray, I guess Lee was April the 10th, something like that. Anyhow, we were so evenly spaced that whenever I wanted to know what the age of any of my brothers and sisters were, all I had to do was to know my own age, because then I started counting up or down by 2s. For instance, if Lee were here, he's not, God bless him, he's dead. I'm 74, he'd be 76. Norman is also gone, would be 78. Our sister Blanche is 80, and Ray would be 82. He's also gone, unfortunately. I'm going downwards. My brother Claire, who couldn't come, he's from Oakland, California, unfortunately. He tried to come but couldn't. He'd be 72, and little Lynn here is 70. And then, of course, Clara is 38, and Anita's 36. Well, nearly all of us were born at 308 Orchard Place, which was our family home. It was a very modest place. It was a 6-bedroom house. There were only 6-room house. There were only 2 bedrooms and an attic. Now, I think I'm right. There were 2 bedrooms and an attic. And the 6 boys, we 6 boys all slept in the attic in 3 great big double beds, and I'll never forget the many cold nights and the very hot nights too that we spent in that attic under the roof. The girls, of course, slept in 1 bedroom, and then Mother always had somebody in the crib so that it worked out all right. Well, this was a very modest house, I say, and it was the days before we had interior plumbing, let's put it that way, so that it was quite interesting for 9 of us to get along, but we did. We had a very fine and happy time of it, and we kept together pretty well. Well, when I got to be about 6 years of age, we had a maid. Well, we didn't call her a maid. She was a hired girl. But in those days, we called her a hired girl, and her name was Dora. I remember her name that well. It became necessary to let Dora go, and so somebody had to take care of all the children, and who do you suppose did that? Blanche. And that's where Blanche got her start when she's 6 years older than I am, is that right? Yes, so that she was the first unpaid babysitter that I know, and she's been a professional babysitter ever since and never been paid a penny. But the house became sort of, well, first of all, we had to keep, I made a note here and I've forgotten it, just for a second. When the boys grew up to 16, because of the financial condition of the family, they all had to go to work. Ray went to work at 16, and then Norman did, and then Lee. But when my turn came, I was a little lazy, and I wanted to get some more education, so they let me go to high school. So I was the first one that went to high school. But Ray took night courses, and he took architect. He got a diploma in architecture in Carnegie Tech, and knowing that we were so crowded in our house and that we needed room by then because we were all going so fast, he designed and made the plans, complete plans for our new house at 310 Orchard, which is where we lived for many long and happy years. And believe it or not, in that house there were 8 bedrooms and 3.5 baths. Well, when 17 came along, my age was 17, my brother Ray helped me to get an appointment for the Naval Academy, and so it was time for me to be the first one to leave the nest, as you say. Well, Ray and Blanche got together and said, well, gee, we've never had a family picture, but this might be a pretty good time to do it because it might be the last time we're all together. So we selected a studio about a mile away from the house, and we all got dressed up in our best bib and tucker, and we got out the front door all together, and we looked at each other, their mother and dad and 9 of us, and we said, this looked like Coxey's Parade. I guess we were ready to go to the 4th of July celebration or something. We can't do this. So we paired up in twos and went 6 different ways around until we got to the studio where we met and we had the picture. And here's the picture I have here. You can see it. We're very proud of that. You can take a chuckle of it because just notice the nice low collars that the boys wore in those days. Now, of course, all this time, Blanche was Mother's helper. She always stayed home, and she. All right, can you hear me now? Well, all this time, Blanche was still the babysitter, taking care of Mother and all of us while we were growing up. And she told me one day that she would never be able to count the number of white shirts or shirts that she ironed for us 6 boys. What is it, Hilda, dear? You could count them. Well, Blanche said she would never do it. But anyhow, that wasn't a surprise because in those days, you know, when Pittsburgh was so dirty, soft cold and so on, we used to say it snowed black. It was white at night, but in the morning, by the time you woke up, it was black. Well, the time came for me to go to the Naval Academy, and I went and went through got through in regulation 4 years. I didn't do like some of my close friends who say they took the 4-year course in 6 years, but I was able to get by, luckily. And then World War I came along, and this was a problem because my 5 brothers were home, and they were very sure they weren't going to let me have all the glory of this war. They wanted to get in on it too. And of course, they didn't wait for the draft, and all 5 of them went in, so we wound up with 6 of us in the service. There were 3 boys who went to the Army, and 3 of us in the Navy. Ray and Norman and Lee got overseas to France. my brother Norman died of pneumonia about the Armistice Day. He got it on the battlefields in France. And Lee, who was my brother 2 years older, had a very bad sniper wound, and he carried the phlebitis leg all the way to his death in 1961. So then when we came back from the war, we'd won the war, of course, and we came back. Now was the time to get married, and Marie and I were the first ones to marry. We married in 1920. Being the youngest and the furthest away from influence at home, I was able to get away with it first, I suppose. But anyhow, the others followed in due course, all except poor Blanche, because Mother just wouldn't let Blanche off her hook. She had to stay there and take care of her. The mother wasn't too well either, but Blanche never complained. She still continued to do the babysitting, and the mother helped her work. Well, Dad died in 1927. That's about 9 years later. I remember the time I was on a submarine in Gonaives, Lake Gonaives Bay in Haiti, and I saw the most gorgeous sunset I've ever seen in my life. And about 3 hours later, I had a cable from home saying that Dad had passed away at that time in Pittsburgh. Now, Mother died at 88. What had happened was that all of us had left this great big home, and it became too big for poor Blanche and Mother and Dad to take care of. Well, Dad was dead then. Mother to take care of, so they just had to sell it. And then Mother went to an apartment where Blanche and she stayed for a long time, and by this time poor Mother was bedridden, and Blanche had a helpless case, a hopeless case of constant care that she had to give to Mother. When Ray became ill after Mother died in 52, and she's 88 years old, and Blanche had been her helper all this time too. But after Mother died, Ray became ill of Parkinson's disease, was pretty well crippled, and Blanche again went with Ray and Nell and stayed a couple of years, I guess, with them, helping them out because they were both incapacitated, so that Blanche never got a chance to have any real rest on her own. Oh, she did have a job for a while. She had a car, and she used to drive Mother all around the country, and they had a lot of fun. She never complained, though, but she never left the nest. How long is 80 years? Isn't it very difficult to picture just what 80 years means? And the thought occurs to me that when Abraham Lincoln was making the Gettysburg Address in about 1863, if my geography is right, he says that 70 years ago our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, and that what he was talking about was the beginning of our republic, the United States. And he was talking about the time, these 80 years span, that included the Declaration of Independence, the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the War with Mexico, the half of the Civil War, and that's a span of 80 years. Now, my sister Blanche has had a span of 80 years. 2 days ago, she became 80, and she has had about 75 of those years working for us just to help the Rogers people keep together. If it hadn't been for Blanche, we wouldn't be here. So we're so awfully grateful to her that we thought we'd like to have this little small token of appreciation that we could show to her. Now that's, thank you all. Now I want to thank Father Schaefer for letting us have this wonderful hall here. I want to particularly thank Ellen and Ines for designing, figuring this thing out. She did it all on her own. Thing is, she didn't make any program, and I don't know, we're just playing this by ear. We didn't ever know what to do, but she knows. She's got it all organized so perfectly well that I hope it'll be all right. Now, there'll be no more speeches, but Ines has a little bit of something that she wants to give to Blanche in just a second. But I just want to finish my one little thought here about Blanche, and this word, Blanche, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand for your next 50 years of ease and comfort without any more worries. God bless you all.